Alright, more clan collection, this time with Steam Maidens, Master Beetle, the Van stream for Polaris, and the new Kagero boss units. So let's begin! Going with the reveal order, we start off with the Steam Maidens with Steam Maiden Uluru, Grade 1, 8 power and skills. Act Vanguard, once per turn, costs Soul Blast 1, bind a grade 2 or less card from your hand, draw a card, then if you bound a trigger unit, draw another card. The cycle is nice, but what's really important is actually the bind, because the bind sets everything up for this deck. As Steam Maiden's playstyle for V is basically a bind timely. But anyway, second skill. Auto Rearguard. At the end of the battle that this card attacked, if you have a Vanguard with Steam Maiden, cost Counterboss 1, bind this unit, choose a grade 2 from your bind zone and call it. Like I said, a bind zone timely. Obviously, you have to run it for the Steam Maiden deck, but any other Gear Chronicle deck, you could run the Steam Maidens as an engine, but not really recommended. Next, Steam Maiden Uluru. Grade 2, 10 power and skills. Auto when placed on rearguard from bind zone, cost bind a card from your drop zone, and this card gives us 3k power for each grade of that card. Obvious setup is obvious, and also the grade 1 will easily go to this as long as you get it bound consistently. But anyway, second skill. Auto rearguard. At the end of the battle that this card attacked, if you have a Vanguard with Steam Maiden card name, cost Counterboss 1, bind this unit, choose a grade 3 from your bind zone and call it. Steam Maiden Bind Zone Timely. Grade 1 goes to Grade 2, and Grade 2 goes to Grade 3. In which Steam Maiden Ulel is a Grade 3 with 13 power, force, and the skill is Act Vanguard once per turn, costs bind a card from your drop zone, choose a Steam Maiden card from your bind zone, and call it to rearguard. Sets up your bind zone and calls a card for free. And if you do not have a bind card, you could just bind that card for the cost and then just call that bound card now. Free plus is a free plus. Second skill, Auto Vanguard. At the end of the battle that your Steam Maiden rearguard attack, cost bind that unit, choose a card 1 grade higher than that bound unit and call it to rearguard. If it was a grade 1, countercharge 1. Remember, the heal trigger is a Steam Maiden and it's a grade 0 obviously, so you could bind that one and then go to grade 1. Third skill, count Vanguard rearguard. During your turn, this card gives plus 1k power for each card in your bind zone, but if it's on Vanguard, 3k instead. So if you have everything set up in your bind zone, it'll be averaging out about 9k, because one of your units will be on the field, and then if you're able to set everything up properly, you could potentially get 4 rearguard attacks. Overall, it's not too bad. Just hope we get more Steam Maidens, especially in the next set, which I do see it very likely that this will be the reverse unit, because it would be really weird for a Stride Fusion based deck to get a reverse unit. And now to the new Mega Colony support. Our first card is Brilliant Blister. Grade 1, 8 power and skills. Auto back row rearguard. At the end of your turn, if your opponent has no rearguards at standing, you may return this card to your hand. Then, if you return it to your hand, and you have 6 or less cards, cost Soul Blast 1, draw a card. Pretty nice, you could bring back your 10k shield, and potentially get another draw. Second skill, Auto, when put on Guardian, if your opponent's Vanguard is rest, costs Soul Blast 1, discard a card from your hand, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, rest it, and it cannot stand for the rest of the turn. So you do want to bounce this back, so you could use the second skill to interrupt your opponent's play. Yeah, this card is pretty good in the Paralyzed deck. And usually it's very likely that all your opponent's rearguards are going to be rested, even your opponent's Vanguard, so getting this off is pretty easy, especially disrupting that big power attack. Next, Machining Armor Beetle. Grade 2, 90 power and skills. Act rearguard once per turn, cost rest another rearguard, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, rest it, and that unit cannot stand until the next stand phase, and this card gets plus 6k power to the end of the turn. I mean, free paralyze is pretty good. Second skill, count rearguard. If this unit is rest, all your opponent's rearguards at the same column as this unit lose the ability to intercept and boost and cannot gain them. Losing the ability to intercept was already good enough, but adding boosts on top of it is really good as well. Because if you do not paralyze the back row rearguard, they will stand it, and your opponent can still call something on top of the front row rearguard. So making it lose boost essentially disrupts their play as well. So definitely good for paralyze. Finally, Martial Arts Mutant Master Beetle. Grade 3, 12k power, protect, and its skill is Act Vanguard rearguard. Once per turn, cost Counterboss 1, choose 2 of your opponent's rearguards and rest them, and they cannot stand during the next stand phase. And if this card's on Vanguard, this card also gets the power of the chosen units into the end of turn. So no matter what, you're going to paralyze something, which is very nice, and it's also very nice it could work on rearguard, giving more support to Yaeverse at the same time. And right now we are kind of lacking paralyzed cards for Mega Colony, so this is definitely a good addition just for this skill. But it can also be a good backup Vanguard ride target for the deck because of the second skill, Auto Vanguard. When this card attacks, cost counter +1, discard a card from your hand. This unit gets drive +1 for every 3 rested rearguards on the field. So on an average 5 rearguard board, you can potentially get additional 3 drive checks. Most likely 2 because you do want to keep 1 rearguard column open, but extra drive checks are always nice, especially with its own first skill already gaining power as well, so the power is not even an issue either. So overall, definitely good addition to Mega Colonies. And now to Dokovan's Great Nature, our first card is the Lord and Savior Coaling Duckbell. Grade 1, AK Power and Skills. Auto, when discarded from your deck, cost Soul Blast 1, add this card to your hand. Mimic gating minuses. Second skill, Auto Rearguard. When your other rearguard is retired by card ability this turn, cost Soul Blast 1, retire this unit, draw a card. Well, Duckbill is known for getting a card back to your hand, and with success you could target this unit as well and then use the skill to retire itself before you use the success retire. So I do see this being run. Next, Guardian of Truth Locks. Grade 3, 12k power, protect, and skills. At Vanguard, once per turn, cost put a card from hand to soul, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, put all grade 3s from among them to your hand, and then discard the rest. If you put a grade 3 to your soul for the cost, until the end of turn, this card gets this ability. Count Vanguard, all your grade 3 units gets plus 5k power, so this card focuses around grade 3s. Especially the second skill, Auto Vanguard. At the end of your turn, choose up to 2 grade 3 rearguards, retire them, and then for each retired unit, draw a card, and then choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. In a way, you can mix it with success because you are going to retire your rearguards at the end of the turn. You just need a grade 3 centric build for this card. Finally, Battle Earth Twin Brush Polaris. Grade 3, 12k power, protect, and skills. Auto Vanguard once per turn. At the end of battle that this card attack, cost combat +1, choose one of your rearguards. It gets power equal to this unit's power until the end of turn. Then, if the chosen unit's power is 50k or greater, stand that unit. And then after that, if the chosen unit's power is 70k or greater, while your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, stand this unit. And this card gets plus 15k power until the end of turn. So basically with Polaris, you want to dedicate everything to one unit. 13k power buff is actually already pretty strong, but you do have to dedicate a lot more power to that one unit with this card. Otherwise, you're not going to get really any value from this other than a big beefy beater. It is doable, maybe the 50k most likely. 70k might be a little difficult, but I say this is okay. And now to the Kagero boss units. We start off with Dragonic Lawkeeper. Grade 3, 13k power, force, and skills. Auto Vanguard. At the start of each battle phase, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Your opponent chooses 1 rearguard for every 3 rearguards on the field and bind it. At the end of the turn, your opponent calls the bound cards back through this ability, and auto abilities cannot be activated. So basically, if there are a total of 10 rearguards in the field, your opponent binds all their rearguards. If there's a total of 8 or 9, your opponent would bind 4, and so on if it continues going down. It's variables of 3, they bind 1. Second skill, Count Vanguard. If your opponent has no back row rearguards, all your units get plus 5k power. Then if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and they have no rearguards, your rearguards get an additional 5k. This card sounds very underwhelming until you realize the first skill activates on both players' turns, giving a really good disruptive card for Kagero. Because if your opponent requires field setup during the main phase and they can't really generate anything in the battle phase, well, your opponent can't be screwed by this. And offensively, this is a decent card as well, because yes, you could still bind your opponent's cards during your turn, but the extra power buff for all your rearguards can be very nasty as well. So overall, I say this is a good new option for any Kagero deck, probably worth as a tech option. Next, Blazing Flare Dragon. Grade 3, 13 power, force, and its skills. Act Vanguard Rearguard. Once per turn, cost Soul Blast as many cards as you want, choose one of your opponent's rearguards for each Soul Blasted card, and retire it. But if it was on Vanguard and you Soul Blasted at least 5 cards for the cost, your opponent also removes all their markers. So if you have a Kagero deck that soul charges a lot and you want to gift marker removal, here you go. Second skill, Auto Vanguard Rearguard. When this card attacks, soul charge 1. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, while they have no rearguards, this card also gets plus 10k power to the end of that battle. So second skill kind of supports the first skill with some extra power on top of it, which is also very nice. But the main skill is obviously the first one, because gift marker removal can be very nasty, especially on those decks that rely on getting those. Finally, Dauntless Domination Dragon Reverse. Grade 3, 13k power, force, and skillless. Auto Vanguard, when you drive check a normal unit, cost counterblast 1, put that card on rearguard as a lock card. If you put a card, this card gets us 10k power and a drive plus 1 into the end of that battle. This is not a once per turn, so as long as you're able to pay the cost, you can continue activating this skill, especially if you rode this on top of Dauntless drive itself. You are kinda encouraged to drive check at least 2 normal units. But anyway, second skill, Auto Vanguard. At the end of the battle that this card attack costs Soul Blast 1, unlock all your locked cards and then retire them. For each retired card, your opponent performs this ability. Choose 3 of your rear guards and retire them. If 2 or more were not retired, choose a marker on your circle and remove it. Man, these reverse units are taking advantage of Link Choker's lock, and I love it. And what I also really like is that as long as you have the counterblast, every normal unit you drive check is essentially triggered because it gives you a 10k power buff. Pretty much saying that when you're facing this, as long as your opponent has a counterblast, it's not ever safe to do the 2 to pass. And if you're at the lock matchup, well, the second skill is there for you. And unlike the past reversed units, at least that those locks are not considered as a cost for your powerful skills, but rather they benefit you for more lock cards. And also, this card is generic, so probably tech this in against the Link Joker matchup. So overall, really awesome. So that's it for these reveals. What do you guys think about the new Steam Maidens, Mega Colony, Great Natures, and the Kagero boss units? The most interested one I am in it right now is Kagero, because I do play Kagero and I don't play the other clans. But Steam Maidens, I do like the Bind Zone Time Leap aspect, so that's pretty cool. The new Mega Colony support is a good expansion to the Paralyze mechanic. A little bit iffy on the Great Nature stuff, but the Kagero boss units, all of them seems to be very good tech options for any of your Kagero decks. And I like that. But other than that, that's it for these reveals, and see you all next time.